What's the most high risk, low reward thing you've ever done? I once followed a young homeless man I just met because he wanted to show me where he was staying. It was nighttime and he invited me down into a dip in the trees. We walked through a dark section of forest, then he showed me some rocks and small caves with a couple beds set up. Then we left. I literally followed a stranger into the dark woods because curiosity? Suicidality? Never go with a hippie to a second location. Jack 30 Rock. Edit. Plus unless that hippie is Carrie Fisher. YouTube video scene and picture of Carrie on 30 Rock. RIP to one of the greatest. And thank you for silvering/upvoting this fine 30 Rock quote. I once climbed an old truss bridge to get some neat pictures of myself. I climbed under it and sat on the beams beneath the bridge. I climbed to the very top. I hung off the edge of the bridge above several rocks. Once I got done and showed the pictures to my friends, and they said they sucked. Edit. Thanks for the rewards. This is now my most liked comment. Thanks internet people. I'll also be looking for the pictures, and if I find them I'll post them. Edit 2. I have one of the pictures. I'll post it on my profile picture. Should've worn a Spider-Man costume. Would have made the whole ordeal look cooler. Come to think of it, even then most people would have described the pictures as crap or mega crap. Walking into my house as a confident 15-year-old with a cigarette in my mouth telling my dad things. We're gonna change around here. Wow. Did not expect this. I feel I must clarify for all involved. This was a skit from Lee Evans' Consort I had just watched with a friend. Thinking it was a good idea, IDKY, I thought of doing it to my dad, a merchant seaman of considerable years and experience. A hard man basically. You're either liked or not. No middle ground with him. I didn't take into account that he hadn't seen this particular concert, and for all intents and purposes, does not do funny. The hit I took that day forever changed me as a man, as it's the best I've had yet. So yes, things changed. I never tried anything that foolhardy again. I still get ringing in my right ear and I never ever told my mom, because I fear her more. Thank you all for the replies and rewards. I truly did not expect this. Stay safe everyone. Fixed. Jesus, it's autocorrect. Lol. Relax. Dictionary device. Did it work? Taking a year in a program I wasn't interested in to try and get a girl who turned me down instantly. Edit. I wasn't horny, I was lonely. And we were good friends prior, not so much afterwards as chiz got awkward. It was also my second year, so I did get a useless degree I never claimed for my trouble. Social science. Don't feel too bad. I had a friend turn down a full scholarship to Johns Hopkins because she met a guy at a local college when we were taking classes there to finish up high school. She decided to go to that college instead. Her and the boy she changed her life for didn't make it through the summer. 17 years after she graduated high school, she's finally, this year, graduated med school. Climbing up a water tower when drunk to find a friend. Turns out said friend was not even lost. He was yelling at me from the base of the tower. Oh, that reminds me. We got the bright idea to go rappelling off a cell tower at like 3 in the morning. This was not a spur of the moment decision. It was planned. After we were done we were pulling the rope down, and I guess we had left a knot in it. Rope gets stuck between the tower's vertical and horizontal supports about 15 feet out from the ladder we were using. Like it was stuck. At least 50 feet off the ground. I wasn't about to leave my $100 climbing rope hanging there, so I climbed up. No rope. And walked out on this 15 feet crossmember balancing with nothing to hold onto. Made it to the vertical support where the rope was caught, kicked it down, and then had to make it back to the ladder. Obviously I succeeded, but about 30 minutes after I got down I had the worst stress headache I've ever had in my life. I was puking, my head hurt so bad. I think I was 16 or 17 at the time. It wasn't even that fun. A rock face is much better than just hanging in empty space and sliding down the rope. Edit. Now that I think about it, it wasn't even my rope. I didn't buy my own rope until a few years later in college. So I risked my life for someone else's rope. How the duck did I get nominated for the suicide mission? Balanced on the top rung of a 6-meter ladder to change a light bulb at work. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes. Yeesh, I've done that too. The downspout on my Evtrophs came off. We were living in those skinny condos at the time. Ground level garage, living room 2nd floor, bedrooms 3rd floor. So the ev troughs were probably 35 plus feet up. I borrowed my father-in-law's extension ladder. It was probably 10 feet short. I put it basically vertical against the house. Instead of having the bottom further back, stood on the top rung on my tippy toes and just barely got the downspout back on. So dumb. I started smoking. Like WTF is this stupid shit? It has literally no benefit, it just makes me uncomfortable when I don't do it, and when I do it as well. Duck Cigarette said it. The response to this comment was unbelievable. Thank you guys. You gave me the courage to try to quit. Wish me luck. A lot of people also recommended Alan Care's Easy Way to Stop Smoking, which I'm currently in the process of reading, and I must say, it is amazing for any silly grammar mistakes. I do apologize. I'm an ESL. Deleted. Letting my mom count to 0. Once my mom started counting backwards from 5, and I started counting down from 3. She stared daggers at me and asked what I was counting to. I said that's how much time she has to stop pretending she was going to douches when she got to 0. My spirit lives on to warn others of my misfortune. Sent my boss a glitter bomb. Never told anyone who sent it. The whole organization, thousands of people, know it happened. Boss flipped out when glitter went everywhere. It'll never tell anyone. Edit. Nice. Thanks everyone. Okay, a little more background. No one likes this boss. I actually accidentally walked into boss's office the second after it was opened by accident. Glitter everywhere, all over them, a huge pile on their desk, and scattered around the computer, keyboard, their hair, the carpet. They were pissed, and I had to stand there and wait for the reaction, which was nuclear meltdown. They tried everything to figure it out. The company is great, and they will not disclose lol. Everyone was questioned lol. In the end everyone just went about their business, and the boss looked bad for blowing it out of proportion trying to rally their bosses to find me out. I was terrified I'd be found out and fired punished. I had already been fired from my position by this person for communicating a work stoppage. Edit 2. This was very long ago, and I no longer work for the organization. They are no longer with the company. In a strange twist, the boss was removed from her position for being a monster. That sounds like low risk, high reward. I was in band in high school. I had a friend from middle school that was also involved in athletics at the time, and the two of us were outcasts among the greater band nerd population and often got talked down to, which even our instructor would join in on from time to time. At the time flipping backpacks was popular, taking things out of the backpack, flipping the backpack inside out, returning the items to the bag, and zipping the bag back up. One day when we had a substitute in, and he had the class watch the typical BS Mozart movie from the 80s again, I found a mega bag of zip ties and convinced my buddy to help me flip every student's backpack, zip tie the bags closed, and then zip tie the bags into the instrument lockers while everyone watched the movie. If we got caught and reported, the instructor 100% would have suspended us. So we were on extra edge, and right as we were wrapping up, the substitute locked eyes with us from across the room and realized what was going on and decided to pretend nothing happened, and we completed the mission right on time. The class was very pissed as the lights flicked on and they saw what had unfolded. The substitute came back for a class later that year and talked to us, saying he had to actively try not to lose his cheers when he saw what was going on. I ducking love you, Mr. Hudson. Reporting you old been a high effort low reward action for him. I stole every wheel off the chairs in my high school's computer lab as a joke during a 20-minute break. I still have one of them. Probably cold gotten expelled, just for a slightly funny joke and a useless chair wheel. I did the same thing, except it was the mouse balls from the computer lab. So dumb. I skipped class after a standardized test. Literally the afternoon teachers were showing movies and doing nothing, and I decided it was smart to get in school suspension to sit behind a warehouse and nap with my dumber friend. My senior year, I figured out that I was legally an adult, so I could literally just leave whenever I wanted. I was an F&D student, but when I started cutting class early, my grades went to B's and C's because I had time to settle in at home, get an early start on my homework, and still had enough time and energy to play games with my friends on Xbox Live. My hippie teacher I had a few years earlier once said, and he could have gotten fired for this, give yourself a break, get your grades up, and skip class every once in a while as a way to treat yourself. Paraphrase. It worked, but I don't think he meant to do it once a week. Whilst building a house, the second floor had an I-beam that extended out into nowhere, that needed to be painted with rust protection paint. The floor had not been installed yet and the joists were still going in. To save time, I shimmied out to the end of the beam and started painting. Every breath of wind made the whole thing sway. Just my movements made it wiggle a fair bit. Nearly took a 6-meter swan dive to a concrete floor about 12 times. I could have painted it after the floor was in, but that would mean laying down drop sheets and lots of messing around. Should have waited. Was a totally stupid thing to do. Stupid? Maybe. But I've seen a lot of painters do a lot of stupid stuff like that, me included, so I think you were just playing the part. Snuck a girl over and had unprotected sex while my parents were home. Got syphilis at 17. Edit. Did not expect this to blow up. This was a bored 4 AM joke. I used to dive in ponds at golf courses to collect the lost balls and clean/sort them to sell back to the courses. It's unbelievable just how many snakes, alligators, and leeches live in those things. I made less than minimum wage, around 6ish at the time, and had countless close calls with critters. However, the most dangerous creatures on golf courses are old people. They do not give a duck if you're working. They will absolutely send balls of hard plastic hurtling at your head at 50 miles per hour without a second thought, then get pissed when their ball hit your tank or cart and split open, then demand you hand over some of your recovered balls in compensation. Edit. I have been informed golf balls fly much faster than 50 miles per hour. Another edit. Yes, the course was always informed when we were there, and they were usually the ones to make the appointments. We quarantined off the area with bright tape and cones with signs and the golfers were either informed to steer clear of the area or the course shut down for a couple hours. It depends on the course though. Some people believe those rules are a suggestion and ignore all of it, especially in places without barriers or fences around the course. One more edit. This was in Florida, hence the density of dangerous wildlife. God, I can't believe how entitled people think they are. My friends and I used to target and steal those signs that said, if you are caught stealing you will be prosecuted. Many illegal things were done and many hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff was ignored to steal increasingly difficult to obtain paper signs. I absolutely love when someone steals something worth nothing while ignoring something valuable just for the sake stealing it. IDKY. Going way beyond the speed limit when I first started driving. When I think of the car stuff we tried when young, man, I shouldn't be alive. When I was about 7, there was some kind of meeting we had at school where the school counselor was asking a large group of us if there was anything we were sad or mad about. I think it was basically meant as an introduction to the concept of a counselor. I was sad that my great-grandmother had recently died, and I mentioned it. The counselor told me that it was okay to be sad, that there's a grieving process, etc. You know, the regular advice for that sort of thing. But for some bizarre reason, what I told my mother later was completely different. To this day I cannot figure out why I did this. I don't remember disliking the counselor or anything like that. The only thing I can think of is that maybe I was doing one of those nonsensical what happens if I do this thing experiments that old kids do. I told my mom that the counselor had told me you need to just forget about it and move on with your life. I had no idea what can of worms I had just opened. My mom was livid. Over the course of the next few days, she called the school asking why the counselor would say something like that to me, and she discussed it with a few different people. They asked what the counselor's exact words were according to me, and my mom sat down and began to write a letter to make it into a formal complaint. She asked me what exactly the counselor said so that she could put it in this letter. At that point I knew this had gone way too far, and I was feeling bad over the fact that I was going to get this woman in trouble. So I finally admitted, quietly, she said, that it's okay to be sad. My mom, dad and grandmother were all very disappointed in me. My mom asked me why I would lie about something like that. I genuinely didn't have an answer for her because I didn't know. When I said it, I had no idea it was going to go that far. I didn't know that my mom was going to go all the way to making a formal complaint about it in the few days before she started writing the letter. I was hoping that she'd just sort of let the whole thing go, but she didn't, so I eventually had to fess up. I still feel bad about that to this day, because when the counselor was told about this, she had to be wondering why I was trying to get her in trouble. She was a nice lady and didn't do anything wrong. But for whatever reason, I clicked the wrong dialogue choice and quickly realized that I couldn't exactly reload from save. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's totally normal for kids to push boundaries and test out scenarios. It's how they learn. I had a similar experience where I was just goofing with my cousins about seeing a man peeking in the window from outside, which eventually escalated to police searching the area with guns drawn. I let the situation spiral out of control, initially out of curiosity and then out of fear. You did a lot more than most people by actually fessing up before it became too serious. Masturbate using Vaporub. Thanks for the warning. I haven't done it, but I figured it was basically just spicy Vaseline. I swam in the Zambezi when I was drunk on a tiger fishing trip. Still can't believe I was that stupid. For those that don't know, it's infested with hippos and crocs, known for taking people. But tiger fishing in the Zambezi sounds ducking sweet though. Had a major gambling addiction at 19. Saved $1,600 so that me and my family could put a deposit down on a rental home. We were getting evicted out of our apartment the next day. Had the move all set up and ready to go in the morning. Just had to pay the deposit and we would finally have a nicer place to live. At about 2 AM on the night before the big move, I decided to go to the casino. Completely ducking stupid move. Ended up losing my $40 that I went there with, and then went to the ATM. Pulled out 100 from the 1600. Lost it. Pulled another 100 to try to win back the first 100. Lost it. Another 100. Lost it. I did this 15 ducking times. I have less than 100 in my checking account. It's now 6 AM. I'm completely ducked. My entire family is going to be homeless because of me. So I figured duck it. If my entire life is ruined, I have no use for the last bit of money in my account. What's another spin on the slots gonna do? Well, when I sat down for the final time at the machine, I win $800 on the first spin. A couple spins later, I win another $800 jackpot. I won back all of my $1,600. Immediately cashed in my tickets and got the duck up out there. I'm 25 now and haven't been back to a casino since that night. You stupid lucky son of a bitch. Once got in a fit of road rage. A guy cut me off on the interstate, so I honked at him. Wasn't a quick honk, it was a longer one, few seconds. Guy slows down and matches the speed of the car in the right lane, so I'm blocked now. I flash my headlights and honk again. He proceeds to spit out his sunroof, and it hits my windshield. He then accelerates heavily back to speed. I floor it, move to the right lane, and move to par him. He floors it. Now we are both going faster. Definitely got over 85 miles per hour. Limit was 65 Ike. Coming up quickly. On a delivery truck in the right lane. He's still in the left. I'm in the right. I punch it harder. I just barely get in ahead of him, then cut him off. Maybe 50 feet before the delivery truck. I slow down and match the speed of the delivery truck. Wait for probably a minute at that speed limit, then par the delivery truck and move right. He had been tailgating me and half driving on the shoulder. Guy floors and flies past. I return to going 5 over the speed limit. Lots of risk, zero reward. I was a complete idiot and there was nothing to gain. Saved no time and endangered at least 3 lives, if not more. Mine, other guy, and delivery truck. You were fast and furious. Cocaine. Almost called 911. Again. I got some cocaine with fentanyl in it about a year ago. Thankfully the guy I was with at the time knew CPR, got me breathing again, drove me to the and called my work saying that I wouldn't be there the next day for an obscure non-drug related reason. Told this story before, but it's been a while. My friends and I used to break into expensive looking houses and use their showers. This was in the late 90s, when ridiculous showers were in vogue and we wanted to know if they were actually any good. For the most part they were not. We never stole anything, well, except water. We brought our own towels and toiletries. We were very careful about who we hit and made sure they had set schedules, and no children or pets. The reward was a chesty shower. We risked jail time. This sounds like a scheme that would be pulled in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Decided to see how fast I could get up to on a nearby neighborhood road. Driving my mother's car no less. Got up to 80 miles per hour in around 6 seconds I think, and by the time I realized I should be slowing down the tires were screeching as I tried to stay on the road. It was a mostly straight neighborhood road, 35 miles per hour, that curved near the end leading to a 4-way stop. I got up to 80 right where the road began to curve, and as I was turning I was going so fast that I went over into the other lane, just a foot or two from going up over the curb. Slowed down and brought the car to a stop at the intersection and my family member sitting in the passenger seat looked over at me as if he had just chiseled the life right out of himself. I was 19 at the time and got my license that same summer. My passenger was 16. I've never had such a powerful moment of instant regret after that day. I didn't feel cool at all. I could have killed a pedestrian, a child, or myself and my family member. That was the day I truly learned that I could lose my life and have respected all traffic laws since, well, to a reasonable extent. I'm only glad that we came out completely unharmed. One night I was driving some people home after a party. For some godforsaken reason I thought I should drive. I wasn't wasted or anything, definitely still in control and within legal limits, but my passenger sure as duck weren't, and I was impressionable. We drove down a fairly big straight road which is usually limited at 100 kph. This one however was limited at 50 kph. Didn't make sense to me cause it was straight AF, so I just floored it at the behest of the others in the car. We were going some 160 kph, and then I saw the ducking curve. Jesus ducking Christ. It wasn't a slight bend in the road you could take with that speed. It was a full-blown 90 turn, and I'm going a 100 over. I slammed the brakes and took the turn like a ducking race car driver with 80ish and came to a complete stop right after. Car just stood there for a good 2 minutes and it was dead ducking silent. I ain't doing that chiz ever again. Edit. To clarify, the people I was driving home were 2 pretty girls and my decision making was severely impaired because of it. CPR on 2 active TB patients. Felt like chiz after neither made it. If you didn't, you'd be asking yourself what would have happened if you did. Despite the bad outcome, you absolutely did the right thing. I once went on a heater at the Luxor in Vegas. When it was over I had turned $60 into $78k and change. I was drunk with excitement. It was 8 AM Saturday. On the way to the cage, shadowed by 3 floor guys, I spied an empty blackjack table. I walked over to it and asked one of the floor guys with me if I could bet it all in one hand. The table has a 5k limit. He nodded okay. AA. I had no money to split. After 2 hits we end up pushing on a 17, and I avoided what would have been the most stupid, embarrassing thing I have ever done. So basically you were an idiot bailed out by fate. Robbing the bank. In Monopoly. Holy crap. Told my mom that my dad was working outside and not the truth of him tearing out a wall because he decided a sliding door would be pretty. He did not get it done before she got home. Pretty sure this is a Malcolm in the Middle episode. I moved across the country, California to Massachusetts, because I saw my high school crush on a dating site. Turns out she won't date bald men under any circumstances. Edit. After I moved to MA, I put up a profile on the dating site and sent her a brief message. She changed her profile to express disinterest in bald men, so I never contacted her again. She never knew who I was. LMAO. Did you not even talk to her and just hope for the best? Reddit at 2 AM. Duck. Wasting 2000 plus hours for playing competitive multiplayer game. At the end, nothing I got other than hurting my eyes, brain, and my emotion. CS. Broke into an abandoned mental hospital on cocaine with a bunch of people I mostly didn't even like in college. Technically I got something out of it, a door number from one of the rooms, which I promptly became terrified would somehow make me haunted because cocaine, and pared off to someone else at the first opportunity. Edit. A lot of people have made guesses as to where this was. It was in the area of Marlboro, New Jersey. I don't remember the name of the place. I wasn't from the area and was tagging along with a group that was. Visiting abandoned buildings can be awesome. Some good rules to be safe are: make sure the structure is not falling apart. Don't make too much noise when inside. It's technically illegal, at least where I did it. Always do it with someone else, and don't do it if the building is not actually abandoned. Get TF out if you see people shooting up in it, but other than that, I've seen some of the best street art inside them. During an all-nighter study session with my college roommate, we decided we wanted to get some McDonald's. It was around 1 AM, so we left all of our stuff in a common study room, laptops and all WTF, and got in my car. It was pitch black, super foggy with my lights on, and raining to top it all off. I couldn't see more than a foot in front of my car, so we were driving 10 miles per hour down the highway on no sleep. After less than 5 terrifying minutes, we decided the cheeseburgers weren't worth it and went home. Essentially high risk, no reward. Did you guys get the McDonald's after the exam? Go to work every day and work in close proximity to dozens of people during a pandemic for less than $500/WK. Edit. Really sad, and a bit comforting oddly, to see how many people are in the same situation. It's scary when you feel like you're not only playing Russian roulette with your life, but also the life of family members who are able to stay home. In my case, that would be my wife. Thank you also to the kind strangers that gave me my first Reddit awards. Me at my grocery store job. Okay, so team, try to stay 6 feet from customers. The aisles are 4 feet wide. Went to college. F. Shoplifted condoms 3 years ago. I'm still a virgin. Perhaps the username has something to do with it? I was a free intern for a flower shop. One day there was a shady person walking in the store basement. Somebody said he stole something from the shop and fled to the basement. The shop was in an apartment building, street level, and the basement led to all over the building. So they said to me, a 16Y/0 girl, to go to the basement and check the situation out. Well, I was young and dumb and went. Thank God I found no one. Free intern for a flower shop. I got hit by a car and broke 2 bones in my wrist. I was on my bike and the girl who hit me was a new driver. I didn't feel like messing up her record over a small mistake and making her insurance rates skyrocket. I didn't know what was messed up initially, but I just didn't want to make it bad for her. I was barely hit. I basically just fell straight sideways on my wrist. Granted, if my bike was busted, I probably would have gone after her, because that was how I got to school and around everywhere. Edit. A couple of people are calling me a simp. I was extremely tuned out and wasn't really focused on her. Plus, I had, and still have, a girlfriend who's far prettier. I'll also add that I got hit on September 13th, Friday, and that night was a full moon. Oh, this is very familiar. My husband was knocked off his bicycle by a motorist only a 5-minute drive from our house. The motorist made a turn and didn't see my husband's bike. Because he only had a couple of scratches, and being a pretty laid-back guy, he didn't take the motorist's details. The guy did at least stop to see if he was okay. Turns out it gave him a long-standing rotator cuff injury that 15 years later still bugs him. I'm still cross about it. Jumping onto a bus that was pulling away from the bus stop without closing its doors. The bus is every 10 minutes. Yeah, I did basically the same thing, but it got me 3 weeks in a hospital. I've talked about this before, but Halloween costumes were banned at my high school because of some idiots like 10 years before that dressed up and used it as an excuse to hide their face while they vandalized the school. My senior year, more than half of the class decided that we would still dress up and march into the school together in the morning. We all knew we would be punished right away, but it didn't matter. I stayed up all night making a suit of armor out of metallic duct tape and cardboard, along with a broomstick horse to ride. The next day we all gathered in the parking and waited for everyone to show up. People went all out and there were a lot of amazing costumes, and after about 20 minutes of waiting we started our march in. The deans had learned of our plan and were waiting for us right as we entered. They started pulling people aside in groups and taking student IDs to hand out Saturday detentions. Got to be in costume for all of about 30 minutes before they made us change and gave us our detentions. Except for a few people that wore costumes that couldn't be changed out of, like my buddy Dave that was a Ghostbuster and had nothing under his jumpsuit. Those people got in school suspension for the day along with the detentions. Lol, because handing out detentions to half the class makes way more sense than banning face covering. I was working as a chef in a gourmet bar/restaurant and had become somewhat of a teacher's pet in the form of my manager's favorite employee because I was never late. Covered shifts etc. Not for his sake. I wanted more money. New guy started and he was just awful. Only got 2 weeks into the job before almost being sacked, but I wanted to teach him the ways. Anyway, one day he carelessly left a cloth on an open flame during prep in the morning of Valentine's Day, our biggest revenue generator, and the fire ravaged through about 1/4 of the kitchen, including the stock, the microwaves, the cooker and the veg prep area. And for some stupid ducking reason I said it was my fault when the manager was on the warpath, thinking the new guy would be saved and it'd just take a humongous barlicking for being stupid and all would be fine eventually. Nope. I got sacked. He threw me out. To this day I will never ever understand why I put my neck into that guillotine of fire. I can't believe that guy you helped didn't own up to it after he found out your job was on the line. That's bad karma. I played Russian roulette solitaire. Well, at least you won. Asked out my ex. Probably not a good idea, and people can't change in 2 weeks. Sneaking into my parents' room at night while they were sleeping to use the ensuite as it was more comfortable than the shared bathroom. It took ages as I slowly opened the door and crept across the room too. All for a cozier poop. Thinking back now, that was madness. When I did get caught eventually, my dad screamed, "WTF are you doing in here at this hour?" And when the answer was to use that bathroom instead of the other bathroom, he just about lost his mind. Or worse, like me, you could have accidentally caught your parents in the act and made eye contact with your dad mid-thrust. The sight was worse than the punishment after. Way worse. Philosophy degree. Beat that. Can anyone truly beat anything? Freshman year of high school I went to Spanish class and the door wasn't open, so I waited outside for the teacher to come back from her lunch break as she was not inside. Took her a while, and while I waited a bunch of my other classmates were waiting too. I was friends with a couple people in that class, and I thought it would be funny to jokingly try to open the lock on the door with a bobby pin. So I tried, and I stuck the bobby pin in the lock a load of times. Giggles and shiz whatever. Well, by the time the teacher showed up a couple minutes later and tried to unlock the door, it wouldn't open. She was like, "Huh, that's weird, it was fine this morning." Keep in mind this high school was pretty strict and they had cameras everywhere. So I was freaking out internally like, OMG duck. The teacher decides to send me of all people to the office to ask for someone to open the door. Worst couple minutes of my life praying that my friends didn't say chiz lol. You do not lead a very dangerous life, my friend. I was stationed at GTMO, worked exterior security, nothing in the facility itself, and it's actually a pretty laid back place to work. In a ho there's a bunch of different beaches we could swim at, and me and a few others thought it would be fun to swim down around the fences and snap some pictures on the Cuba side. Turns out they really didn't like that. They didn't approach us, but there was an announcement made that doing such was highly illegal. They shut down the adjoining beaches and they demanded we come forward. We never did, and they never figured it out. But yeah, we basically risked an international incident for a couple of pictures. Stupidest thing I've ever done. At the local airport there's a taxiway sign that shows taxiway Foxtrot is to your left. You're on taxiway Alpha, and further ahead taxiway Alpha becomes taxiway Golf. I've seen a fair number of military flight crews get absolutely reamed by their co for walking across the taxiway without proper escort just so they could get a picture behind that sign. Slept in a tent at an abandoned asbestos mine. Was able to see some of the asbestos all over the ground. View wasn't bad in the morning though. Note, most asbestos related issues don't show for 30 years. Don't know if it is 30 years. Can't be bothered looking it up. I won't know if I'm safe or going to end up with lung damage. Is there a particular reason you did this? When did this happen? I ate an innocent piece of lettuce in Bolivia. Yeah, I ended up in hospital and I think I still have all my organs. Man, this has to be it for me. Lose, go to the hospital with all the wasted time, worry, illness, and cost that entails. Win, eat a piece of ducking lettuce. It's not even nutritional. Over 10 years of illegal graffiti, so ducking stupid. It's been the only constant in my life for a decade. I'm an expert in a stupider hobby. Arrested multiple times, been beat up multiple times. I went against the status quo of earning my stripes and accepting disrespect from the older generation. This made far more enemies than friends. There are multiple people that I don't want to run into because of chiz we disagreed on 5 to 10 years ago. Rehab twice. Had a reward out for me that was almost 20 times minimum wage in that country. Gave up on art school and barely made it through second try because it was selling out and I only cared about graph. I'm not even a hardcore graffiti writer. I'm mediocre at best. I just stayed a purist and didn't transition to legal stuff. Legal graffiti is a contradiction and is looked down on by illegal artists. I made it into my late 20s and I'm not a failure at life. I came out better than most of the guys I've painted with over the years. I work in a completely different field now with mediocre qualifications. Now I'm considered an expert/veteran, but the only people that look up to me are 16-year-old degenerates. Not worth it. It gets girls though. I'm just here to say that I get stuck in traffic by the train running off schedule about twice a month and my favorite part is waiting for the final train cars to roll by because they are covered in graffiti. The graffiti makes my day. Deleted. How much trouble did you get in with the courts? Stole some random season of Sceneful DVDs from Walmart by putting them under my hoodie. Alarm went off as I left, but it was 1 AM so no one did chiz. Just kept on walking. Why on earth did you steal DVDs of a show that's in permanent syndication until the end of time? Moved across the country for a guy. Got married, now divorced. Hated here, no family. Removed. That's crazy. Taking an ex to high school prom because we were friends. I paid for the ride, the dinner, the tickets because it was my prom, not theirs. 1 year junior to me. We got to the event and they ignored me, wouldn't dance with me, wouldn't talk to me, told me point blank that they would not, and told their friend group the dates my other friends asked to ostracize me once we arrived. So much for being friends. I guess they were planning on this FU for a while. Background. I broke up with them because they cheated on me and they felt betrayed. I was flawed and went and danced with a Colombian friend of mine who was a fantastic dancer and we had a great time. Found ex in the hallway crying because they were so embarrassed that I had abandoned my date and went and danced with not so nice word for a promiscuous woman. They refused to acknowledge their own hypocrisy and cruelty. I truly thought we were good before this night. I never talked to them again. God, I hate narcissists. Trying to beat a red light. In primary school, I was involved in a had-done-it type forensics course one semester. At the end of the course, after we'd solved the crime, we did a trial to present our evidence and convict the murderer. I played the part of the murderer. I wound up missing half the trial because I thought escaping and going on the run was in character and the door was right there. The police in the trial had to bring me back in at least twice. Luckily the teacher had a sense of humor and rolled with it rather than declaring me a disruption to the clap, and you would have gotten away with too if it weren't for that meddling teacher. Licked raw chicken to prove not all chicken had salmonella. Go-kart racing. We'd damn near kill ourselves. Hell, a few actually did. 4 trophies. It was a lot of fun though, despite the constant contusions, lacerations, and occasional fractures. I won a nice helmet once. You're saying you go-karted and some people died? One day I locked myself out of my apartment. I had to pay around €70 last time, so my dumber decided to climb the facade to my window. I live at the 2nd floor. Yes, I could have broke a limb or my neck for the price of a AAA game. So did you make it in? And if so, which game did you get? putting all of my effort into school, thinking everything else would be served on a silver plate. But then to realize I missed so many years and so much life experience. I'm at the end of my last year of high school now. I feel so miserable. Dude, I was expecting you to say that you are like 38 about to graduate from a 12-year university program or something. You literally have your whole life ahead of you and the ability to make it into whatever you want. Using a razor to manscape. Wait, isn't that how you're supposed to do it? My friends and I at boarding school thought it would be a fun prank to remove the wheels from our principal's car and then leave a treasure map with riddles and stuff for every wheel. Later on in class he called over the speakers to those who stole my wheels. You got 15 minutes to return them and put them back on my car or you're kicked out of the school. We got the wheels back on and told everyone about it. A week later nobody even remembered that we were almost kicked out. Lots and lots of illegal graffiti. For about 3 years it was all I cared about. Hanging off ledges and bridges, climbing up the sides of buildings, being on roofs, hiding under trains, being in dangerous places by myself at 3 AM, abandoned buildings, squatter houses, rough neighborhoods. Not to mention the risk of criminal prosecution. Paint doesn't just fall into your lap either. One year I spent $5,000 on spray paint on top of getting it any other ways I could. Homeless guy with a knife. A couple of gangsters tried to rob me. A freight train was about a foot away from running over me. Not all at the same time lol, but those were some of the worst bits. And for what? Just to put some paint on a wall or train and take a photo of it. Edit. Yeah, I definitely got some kicks. The big kicker was watching a train go by and seeing 4 or 5 of my pieces on it, or seeing something of mine in a newspaper. I put it down to being fascinated by the art form and not normally feeling anything due to the antidepressants I was on at the time. The antis helped with the anxiety and fear of doing criminal stuff too. Like having the mental battle with myself to force myself to break into a train yard or paint a wall in front of cars on the highway. I haven't done any illegal stuff for a few years now. I have things to live for. It was a very strange time in my life to say the least. Thanks for reading. Being a British nurse. Are you saying that the clapping on Thursdays is a poor substitute for the correct PPE? In 3rd grade, I took a hearing test and pretended to not hear the beeps until it was at like 5,000 cycles or something bizarre. Because why not? No implants or anything, just some jerky behavior towards the nurse. One time in 5th or 6th grade my friend and I decided to steal the little rubber separators between the metal keys of our school's xylophones. We took all of them because we could use them as little army men. The next day we got called to the music teacher's office and got told how much damage we did. I don't really remember what happened after that, but I think we returned our army men. Not long after we got in trouble for bringing our UGR cards to school in Crown Royal pouches. Went sliding down rapids with my friends one time. I don't know how to swim. It was a few years ago. 4 guys on a road trip in northern Ontario. We took our canoes and managed to find a set of rapids called the 5-Finger Rapids. It was basically 5 different streams ending up in a pool. We decided it would be fun to jump in and end up at the pool because it was something a person told us people do at these rapids on our way up. Given I did have a life jacket on and one of my friends was an experienced swimmer, he told me he was a level away from a lifeguard certificate. But it was still stupid dangerous. Now that I look back, we literally took crashing streams of water into a pool with massive rocks as borders. Could have crashed and broke my skull, but oh well, was still a good memory. FYI, everyone survived. Yup, I did a tubing trip with friends. Bad idea. I was promised there would be life jacket. They swore I would get a tube with a board in it. I got neither, and the width of my arms were the same as the tube, so only my fingertips reached the water, so I had no control. My friends said they would travel down the DWG with me, but I took off like a shot and was 20 minutes ahead of them because I was probably 30 pounds less than the second lightest person there. Did I mention I can't swim? I almost lost the tube, and after I recovered it, I did the last part of the trip with one leg over and one leg under the tube. I was not risking losing that tube and drowning. My first marriage, starting in the 1980s. A word of advice: never marry a celebrity unless you are one as well. I hate people like you who say something interesting but have too much integrity to give out names. When I was young, I spent $100 on my mum's credit card on a game. I deleted everything relating to my purchase, but got caught eventually. I regret spending on stupid games so much. I have a running total of $1,400 spent on League of Legends. Pretty much most of the money I ever got from birthdays or Christmas went straight to Daddy Riot. I remember being in middle school and accidentally buying $20 in RP instead of $10. League of Legends is so ducking dumb LMAO. I'm glad that seeing that big ugly number has made me extremely hesitant to buy any sort of microtransactions in any games now. I could have spent a lot more money by now if I still cared about the pretty colors. Work all my life. While camping on my own in North Queensland, Australia, I once set up my camera and tripod on the viewing platform of a lookout overlooking a waterfall and tropical rainforest. Being a wannabe Instagrammer and wearing flip-flops, I then set my camera's timer to 10 seconds, jumped over the safety barrier, sprinted over extremely rocky terrain, stopping myself from running before quickly sitting on the edge of an instant death style cliff face, and waited a few seconds for the camera to go click. Once I reached relative safety after stupidly risking my life, I casually stepped off a rock on my way to view the photo and twisted my ankle while in flip-flops. Being on my own, I had to pack up my camera gear while in excruciating pain, my ankle swelling up like a balloon. I got all Bear Grylls on myself, turned my tripod into a walking stick and limped and hopped my way back down the trail for about an hour, finally making it back to my campsite, where I began soothing my throbbing ankle by performing first aid on myself. While chilling with some ice on my elevated ankle, I decided to check what was surely an amazing photo that would be my pride and joy for years to come, only to realize that I was wearing my green and brown t-shirt that blended into the background, so you couldn't even see me in the shot anyway. I will try and dig up the photo. Edit. Here's a link to the photo. Edit 2. Bonus pic of my swollen ankle once I eventually reached the local hospital. Swollen ankle. It is a lovely photo though. Edit. Just seen the ankle pic. The photo is worth it. Smuggled 250,000 drug money taped to my chest through 4 countries for the princely sum of 3,000. I risk my freedom for a sofa, a nice sofa, but still. 2/10 would not do again. While in army basic in 04, I took a piece of cherry pie during dinner chow, covered it under 2 slices of bread, and ate it before eating any of my actual dinner. One of the guys in my platoon saw me, but never said anything. If the drill sergeants would have caught me, they would have made me and my platoon pay with a round of 200 push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, and most likely mountain climbers unit. A few of us threw up. It was the first thing I ate with sugar in 2.5 months, and it was delicious. Especially since I never got caught. Same man, every meal I was risking my life for that last bite of cheese or dessert and discreetly but very fast chewing in the line. Got caught eventually. It really was high risk low reward. Back in 2000 or 2001, right after my mom passed away, me and my brother moved in with my dad and his family into a new house. Not even a month after we moved in, our house burnt down. They said it was an electrical fire, but anyway I pulled my dad's, now deceased, wife's granddaughter out of the house, and not once did I ever get so much as a thank you from my dad's wife, the girl's mom, or anyone in that family. And I haven't a doubt in my mind that had I not pulled the kid out of the house, she probably wouldn't have gotten out alive. I was 13 or 14 at the time, and yeah, it's safe to say that at the time I was dealing with a lot. Thank you for pulling that girl out alive and risking your safety. Middle of the night helicopter search and rescue for fake mayday/distress call. IDK call me not fun at parties, but diverting emergency services from people that actually need it is a bit of an auntie move. Was about 15 and riding in the back of the car being driven by my sister with some friends of mine there as well. I got this bright idea to impress everyone by doing a Chinese fire drill. When you get out of the car at a red light and everyone runs a lap around it with the option of returning to your original seat or someone else's, but you have to do another lap if yours is taken. Dumber me forgot that my parents were also going to the same place and didn't bother to look around to make sure the cost was clear. It was not. The parents were in the car directly behind us. Also, I was the only one to actually do the CFD. Everyone else thought I was joking. Marrying my wife. F. He's an abusive boyfriend from the cops. Ended up breaking up with him afterwards and going to jail for a day. I was super lucky. Harboring a fugitive is a felony, folks. I risked having a permanent felony on my record for a dude without a job who regularly verbally abused me. Without a doubt the stupidest thing I've ever done, because I thought I loved him and wanted to be with him forever. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.